Hello and welcome to a training on how to set up a new non-inventoried material. As you can see, I have an invoice here for some winter rye. It's not a material that we have ever handled before. It's something we're just starting to handle now. It's not something that we're going to count at the end of the year, so we're going to enter it into CHEMS as a non-inventoried material. I'm going to, just a note for myself, I'm going to handle it the same as grass seed, which is another non-inventoried material, something we use on a lot of different projects, but we don't actually inventory it. My purchase price was 0.2938 cents per pound. And we charge a 10% handling fee on any inventory or non-inventory material or a part, anything like that that ends up in our yard and we have any handling time to it. We charge 10% on top of it, which makes our total selling price 32 cents a pound. So to take that invoice and enter the material into CHEMS, I'm going to move over to my CHEMS window. As you can see, I'm in the test window so that I'm not actually manipulating any of my real data. I'm just manipulating some test data to make sure I'm doing it correctly and for training purposes. So to set up a brand new one, we're going to go to the setup screen. We're going to select inventory, non-rate. If I were entering a material that was an inventoried item, we would use the master screen, but for today, we're going to do non-inventory. The first tab is the Masters tab. For category, you can hit the F2 button, and that'll bring up all of the inventory categories available. I know that it's not fuel, I know that it's not lubes, and I know that it's not a part. So that leaves me with a material. Double click on that or click once and hit OK, and that'll fill that in that box for you. You can hit enter to move down to the non-inventory ID. This is a short clip of what you want to call this. For winter rye, I'm going to abbreviate it as just rye. Hit enter, and that moves me down to my description field. This is where you can get a little more detailed. There is still an information cap in that box, so many characters are allowed. But you can still enter plenty of information. So to keep it simple, I'm just going to call it winter rye. When you go to class, this is another box where you can hit F2 and hit OK. It'll bring up a list of all of the classes that you have available to you. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select county maintenance. If for some reason any of the classes that were brought up, if this material doesn't actually fall into one of those classes and you needed to set up another one, you could also do that from the setup screen, inventory class. You can go in there and create a brand new class and fill in all of the appropriate boxes. For more information on how to do that, refer to the training video on how to set up an inventoried material. The trainer on that one goes through it in a little more detail. So you can hit tab or enter to move to the next screen. This one says U/M. If you were new and weren't exactly sure what that meant, you can hit the F1 key as a shortcut to an information box that gives you a small little clip of what's expected in that box. In this instance, it's unit of measure. So I know that our winter rye is going to be recorded in pounds. Again, you could hit F2 if you wanted to, or you can type in the information. Tire and battery. This is a very important box for your finance department or your shop. So make sure if you are entering a tire or a battery that you indicate a Y for yes. If it's not, you'll always indicate an N for no. GL acid is also very important to have set up correctly, as well as the one below it for the GL append. You can also refer to that inventory training video for more information on those. But I recommend you work with your finance department or your office manager to make sure that you get the right information for those boxes. In here, I am not going to hit the F2 key because there's a lot of information when that comes up. So I'm just going to go ahead and enter the account that I know that it's going to fall into. It is not a taxed purchase because most of our sales are to ourselves or to other townships, and all of which are tax exempt, so it's not taxed. It is not an item that's going to have any form of a warranty on it, and it's not a hazardous material. Up on the top right, we move to the active screen. There's a Y in there for yes. Obviously, it's a brand new material, so I do want it to be active. If for some reason we were bringing up an existing material and we were no longer going to carry it and we wanted to deactivate it, we would change that Y to a no, to an N for no, and we would enter a disposal date in there, the day that we're done carrying it. Once you move down to the notes box, this is where you can enter just about anything. You can enter letters or numbers, any information that you want to know at a quick glance. For me, I'm going to just note that it was picked up by me, just as a quick reference that so-and-so picked it up, or sometimes we have some materials that we're not going to charge a handling fee on. We might make a note in this box for that as well. And then we can move down here. This is where the starting date is the date, obviously, that you started carrying the material. So for me, I'm going to enter the date on the invoice. You can't see it in this clip that I have, but I know that it's October 5th. And the unit cost right off of the invoice, and the price right off of the invoice. And the handling fee is what I'd already figured out. And when you enter through all of those fields, you'll see that it turns your total cost and your total price to be relatively the exact same rate. We actually in our department don't want that. We want our cost to be the amount that we paid for it, and we want our price to be the amount that we're charging for it when we sell it. So I'm going to re-enter this. Cost is what we paid for it. I want my selling price to be the cost plus that 3 cents for handling. So I'm going to turn it to 32 cents. And I'm going to leave the handling fee blank here. Enter through it, and you'll see that now my cost and my price are different. So I'm going to go up to that first line that is incorrect for my county, and I'm going to hit Control D to delete it. And now I've just saved the line that's accurate for us. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to move over to the vendor screen, and this is where I'm going to indicate who I bought this stuff from. So I'm going to hit F2 because I don't have the vendor IDs memorized. I'm going to hit OK. Because I don't want to scroll through these numbers, which aren't always in alphabetical order, I'm going to grab this description heading here and I'm going to pull it over to the left, and that will reorder them in order of description. I know that this particular one was purchased from a company called Synergy, which is obviously at the very bottom of the alphabet. So I'm going to just up here type in SY, and that's automatically going to drop me down to the accounts that start with those letters. So I'm going to double click on Synergy, and that's going to bring that in here, auto-populate it for me. If I wanted to enter a phone number for them, I could right off of the invoice. But I am going to actually just enter the invoice number because we have our phone numbers set up in our actual vendor screen. So this item ID off of the invoice is this, and we received it on 10/5. And we don't typically enter last paid per unit because we update that in the master screen. But you're welcome to put that in there if you want. It's just another place to have a quick glance of what you've been paying for a material throughout the years. So once you have your vendor screen set up, or if you would prefer not to set that screen up, you can save it without any information on this tab. Do a double check on your master screen and everything appears to be correct. You're going to hit F9 to save it. And now you're free to go into your non-inventory entry screens and charge it out as needed.